Marcus Chen rubbed his tired eyes as the cargo ship's engines hummed their familiar tune through the metal corridors. 3 weeks of hauling mining equipment to the Outer Rim colonies had left him exhausted. All he wanted was to find a quiet corner somewhere and sleep for about 12 hours straight. The space station orbiting KEPLER 442b looked like any other refueling stop. Dull gray metal, flickering lights, and the constant smell of recycled air mixed with engine grease. Marcus dragged his duffel bag toward the passenger quarters, hoping to find an empty room where he could crash without anyone bothering him. "Excuse me, human," a voice called out behind him. Marcus sighed. He turned around to see a tall, blue-skinned alien wearing what looked like an expensive suit. The alien's 3 eyes blinked in sequence as he approached. "I am Administrator Veltar of the Galactic Commerce Guild. We have been expecting your arrival." "Look, buddy," Marcus said, shifting his bag to his other shoulder. "I just want to sleep. Whatever paperwork needs signing can wait until tomorrow." The alien's middle eye twitched. "This is not about paperwork, human. Your species has been selected for a very important cultural exchange program." Marcus felt a headache coming on. "Cultural exchange? I'm just a cargo hauler. I don't do culture." Nevertheless, the Council of Seven Worlds has determined that humans show promising compatibility with several species seeking companionship. Veltar's voice carried an odd tone that made Marcus uncomfortable. Companionship? What kind of companionship? Before the administrator could answer, a commotion erupted from the corridor behind them. Marcus heard what sounded like arguing voices and the clatter of small feet running on metal flooring. "She escaped again," someone shouted in accented English. 3 security guards rushed past them, their weapons drawn but set to stun. They wore the uniform of station security, but their movements seemed panicked rather than professional. "What's going on?" Marcus asked. Veltar's blue skin somehow managed to look pale. "A minor situation. One of our ... exchange candidates has proven difficult to contain." A small figure darted around the corner, moving faster than anything Marcus had ever seen. At first glance, he thought it might be a child, but as the figure got closer, he realized it was definitely not human. The creature stood about 4 feet tall, with silver-gray fur covering most of her body. Her face was distinctly Volf-like, with pointed ears that swiveled to track sounds and bright golden eyes that seemed to glow in the station's dim lighting. She wore what looked like a torn piece of fabric wrapped around her torso, and Marcus could see lean muscles moving under her fur as she ran. What struck him most was how she moved. Every step was perfectly balanced, every turn calculated for maximum efficiency. This was a predator in every sense of the word. Despite her small size, the security guards rounded the corner, breathing hard and looking frustrated. "Lost her again," one of them panted. "She's too fast." "This is the 3rd time this week," another added. "Maybe we should increase the sedative dosage." "No," Veltar said firmly. The Lupari delegation was very specific. "No chemical restraints? Their culture considers it ... dishonorable." Marcus watched the conversation with growing confusion. "Lupari? What's a Lupari?" The administrator turned to him with what might have been relief on his alien features. "The Lupari are a warrior species from the Andromeda sector. They are seeking compatible mates among the younger races." "Mates?" Marcus's voice cracked slightly. "As in breeding partners, yes. They believe that genetic diversity strengthens their packs. Humans have been deemed ... suitable." Marcus stared at him. "You've got to be kidding me." A soft growling sound came from somewhere above them. Marcus looked up to see the small Volfalian perched on a ventilation grate, watching the conversation below with obvious interest. Her golden eyes locked onto his. And Marcus felt something strange happen. It was like an electric shock, but not painful. More like recognition, as if some part of his brain was saying, "There you are," to someone he'd never met before. The Lupari's nose twitched as she sniffed the air. Her ears perked forward, and she tilted her head in a way that reminded Marcus of his childhood dog trying to understand human speech. "Zara," Veltar called up to her, his voice taking on a coaxing tone. Please come down. We have discussed this many times. The mating protocols must be followed properly. The Volphalian named Zara snorted in a way that clearly said what she thought of protocols. She dropped from the vent with impossible grace, landing silently on her feet just a few meters from Marcus. Up close, he could see that her fur wasn't uniformly gray. It had darker streaks along her arms and face, and her tail, which had been hidden before, was tipped with white. She was actually quite beautiful in an otherworldly way. Zara approached him slowly, her head still tilted at that curious angle. When she was close enough to touch, she did something that made everyone in the corridor freeze. She sniffed him. It wasn't a quick, polite sniff. She took a deep, thorough smell of him, starting at his chest and working her way up to his neck. Marcus stood perfectly still, partly from shock and partly because something told him that moving suddenly would be a very bad idea. When she finished, Zara stepped back and looked directly into his eyes. Then she said something in a language that sounded like a mixture of growls and musical notes. What did she say? Marcus asked. Veltar's 3 eyes went wide. She said, mine? Mine? Marcus repeated. What does that mean? Among the Lupari, scent bonding is the first step in mate selection. If she has claimed you, it means she believes you are genetically and temperamentally compatible for bonding. Marcus looked at the small Volphalian, who was still staring at him with an intensity that made him nervous. Look, lady. Zara, I think there's been some kind of mistake. I'm not looking for a mate. I just wanted to take a nap. Zara's ears flattened against her head, and she made a sound that was definitely a whine. She looked genuinely distressed at the suggestion that he might reject her. The scent bond is not a mistake, Veltar explained. Lupari have extremely sensitive noses. They can detect pheromonal compatibility from great distances. If she has claimed you, it is because your biological signatures are highly compatible. But I don't want to be claimed. Marcus protested. I have a job. I have a life. I can't just run off with some alien Volf woman. Zara's expression changed from distress to something that looked almost like hurt. She made another series of sounds, these ones lower and more mournful. She says she understands if you find her unworthy, Veltar translated, sounding uncomfortable. She will withdraw her claim and submit to reassignment. Marcus felt a stab of guilt. The little alien looked genuinely heartbroken, and something about her dejected posture made him want to comfort her. It's not that you're unworthy, he said, addressing Zara directly. It's just ... complicated. I don't know anything about Lupari culture. I don't know what being mates means to your people. Zara's ears perked up slightly at his gentler tone. She spoke again, this time more hopefully. She says she can teach you, Veltar translated. She says that among her people, the bond between mates is sacred. They share everything. Their strength, their knowledge, their lives. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. This was definitely not how he had planned to spend his shore leave. Look, he said, maybe we could talk about this. Somewhere quiet? I really do need some sleep, and this conversation is getting kind of intense for a public corridor. Zara's tail began to wag slightly, and Marcus realized that she understood more English than she was letting on. Of course, Veltar said. The Lupari delegation has reserved guest quarters for this purpose. You may use them to discuss the situation. One of the security guards stepped forward. Sir, are you sure that's wise? She's been quite aggressive with other potential candidates. Marcus looked at Zara, who was now sitting on her heels in a way that reminded him of a dog waiting for permission. She didn't look aggressive. She looked hopeful. I think we'll be fine, he said. Lead the way. The guest quarters were nicer than Marcus had expected. There was a sitting area with comfortable furniture, a small kitchenette, and what looked like a bedroom through an open doorway. The lighting was warm and soft. Nothing like the harsh fluorescence in the corridors. Zara immediately went to the windows and looked out at the stars. She made a soft sound that might have been contentment. She likes the view, Veltar explained. Lupari are natural explorers. The open space appeals to them. Marcus settled onto a couch, his exhaustion finally catching up with him. So how exactly does this whole mate thing work? Are we talking about some kind of arranged marriage? Veltar shifted uncomfortably. Not exactly arranged. The Lupari believe that compatible mates can sense each other across great distances. Zara volunteered for this program because she felt called to find her bond mate among the human colonies. Called? It is difficult to translate. Think of it as a deep knowing that your perfect partner exists, combined with an unshakable belief that you will recognize them when you meet. Marcus looked at Zara, who had turned from the window to watch their conversation. And she thinks I'm this perfect partner? The scent bond does not lie, Valtar said solemnly. If she has claimed you, it is because every instinct she possesses is telling her that you are the one she has been. Marcus woke up feeling more refreshed than he had in months. For a moment, he forgot where he was, expecting to see the cramped quarters of his cargo ship. Instead, sunlight was streaming through large windows, and he could smell something that reminded him of cinnamon and pine needles. Then he remembered the space station. The Volphalian, Zara. He sat up quickly and looked around. The bedroom was empty, but he could hear soft sounds coming from the main room. Something that sounded like ... singing. Marcus got dressed and walked out to find Zara sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by what looked like small metal pieces. She was humming a melody that was hauntingly beautiful, almost like a lullaby. Her hands moved with precise, delicate movements as she worked on whatever project had captured her attention. "Good morning," he said softly. Not wanting to startle her, Zara's ears twitched, and she looked up at him with a smile that showed slightly pointed teeth. "Good morning, Marcus. You sleep ... deep, very peaceful. What are you working on?" He moved closer and saw that the metal pieces were arranged in an intricate pattern that seemed to shift and flow as he watched. "Memory map," Zara said, her English clearer than it had been the day before. "Show you my world. My people—" Marcus knelt down beside her to get a better look. The metal pieces weren't just randomly arranged. They formed a three-dimensional map that somehow conveyed movement and emotion along with geography. He could see mountain ranges that seemed to pulse with life, valleys that felt warm and welcoming, and vast open spaces that spoke of freedom. "This is incredible," he said. "How does it work?" Zara touched one of the pieces, and suddenly Marcus could almost hear the sound of wind through alien trees. Lupari metal singing. "We put feelings, memories into metal. Share with Pack. Pack? Family, community, all Lupari belong to Pack." Zara's expression grew wistful. "I am far from Pack now. Looking for new Pack." Marcus understood. "You're homesick? Homesick?" Zara tested the word. "Yes, but also ... excited, new world, new experiences." "New mate?" She said the last part with such hopeful confidence that Marcus felt both flattered and nervous. "Zara." "About that ... double quotes," he began, but she held up a small hand. "You said 3 days to know each other. Is only first day?" "No decisions yet?" Marcus nodded, relieved that she wasn't pushing. "Right, so ... Tell me about your world. What's it like?" Zara's eyes lit up, and she began touching different parts of the memory map. As she did, Marcus found himself experiencing flashes of sensation and emotion. The warmth of 2 suns on his skin, the exhilaration of running through crystal forests, the comfort of sleeping in a pile with family members, the fierce joy of a successful hunt. "Astoria is alive," Zara explained. "Everything connected. Trees talk to stones, stones sing to rivers, rivers dance with sky. Lupari are part of dance. It sounds beautiful." "Is beautiful. But also ... limited. Same dances, same hung, same hunts. I want..." She paused, searching for words. "New dances. Different songs." Marcus was starting to understand why she had volunteered for the mate program. It wasn't just about finding a partner. It was about adventure, exploration, new experiences. "What about Earth?" Zara asked. Your world? Marcus laughed. Earth is complicated. Beautiful in some places, damaged in others. Too many people, not enough space. That's why I became a cargo hauler. I like the quiet of space. Zara nodded enthusiastically. Yes. Space is good, free, no walls, no limits. You like traveling? Love traveling. Lupari are meant to move, to explore. Being stuck in one place too long makes us sad. Marcus felt a little thrill of excitement. Someone who understood his wanderlust, who wouldn't want him to settle down in some groundside job he hated. What about your job? He asked. What did you do on your world? Zara's posture straightened with obvious pride. Scout, explorer, I find new paths through dangerous places. Map unknown territories. Guide hunting parties through difficult terrain. That sounds dangerous. Sometimes? But Lupari are fast, strong, smart. We know how to survive. She flexed her hands, and Marcus saw her retracted claws extend slightly. They looked sharp enough to cut through metal. Show me, he said impulsively. Zara tilted her head. Show you what? How fast you are. How you move. Zara's tail began wagging, and she bounced to her feet. You want to see? If you don't mind. What happened next took Marcus's breath away. Zara didn't just move fast. She moved like physics didn't quite apply to her. She flowed around the furniture, bounced off walls without making a sound, and seemed to change direction in mid-air. Within seconds, she had circled the entire room 3 times and was back to where she started, not even breathing hard. That's impossible, Marcus said, staring at her. How do you do that? Lupari gravity on a story is different. We evolved to move in 3 dimensions, not just 2, also . She grinned, showing those pointed teeth again. We cheat a little. Enhanced muscle fibers, hollow bones, better balance organs. Evolution didn't do all that. No, Zara admitted. Ancestors made improvements long ago. To survive predators, hunt prey, explore difficult places. Marcus was beginning to realize that Lupari were far more advanced than they seemed. What kind of improvements? Zara sat back down and rolled up one furry arm. Beneath the fur, Marcus could see what looked like fine silver threads running along her muscles. Enhanced strength, speed, agility, better healing, longer life, sharper senses. She tapped her nose. Can smell your emotions, your health, your to compatibility. You can smell emotions? Fear has scent. Joy has scent. Sadness, anger, love, all different. Zara leaned closer and sniffed delicately. Right now you smell curious, excited, little bit nervous. Marcus felt his cheeks heat up. That's invasive. Cannot turn off, Zara said apologetically. Like you cannot stop seeing colors. It's just how we work. What else can you smell about me? Zara was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how honest to be. You are healthy, strong, have been alone for a long time, but not by choice. Want companionship, but afraid of being hurt? Love the freedom of space, but sometimes feel empty. Marcus stared at her. Every word was accurate, and he wasn't sure how he felt about being so transparent to someone he'd just met. And the compatibility thing? He asked. Zara's scent changed in a way that Marcus somehow knew meant she was pleased. Your scent tells me your genetics would blend well with mine. Children would be strong, smart, healthy. But more than that. She paused. Your spirit calls to mine. We would be good partners. Balance each other. How can you possibly know that from smell? Pheromones carry much information. Immune system compatibility, genetic diversity, even personality traits. Millions of years of evolution teach Lupari what scents mean good mate. Marcus was quiet for a long time, processing this information. So when you say we're compatible, I mean in every way. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Not just attraction. True partnership? Before Marcus could respond, the door chimed. Zara was on her feet instantly, positioning herself between Marcus and the entrance. Her ears were flat against her head, and he could see her claws extending. "It's all right," Marcus said gently. "It's probably just Administrator Veltar." Zara relaxed slightly but didn't move away from him. The protective gesture made something warm bloom in Marcus's chest. The door opened to reveal not Veltar, but a tall, imposing alien that Marcus had never seen before. This one was covered in what looked like metallic scales, and his eyes glowed with an inner light. Behind him stood two more aliens in elaborate robes. "Zara of the Iron Fang Pack," the scaled alien said in perfect English. "You are summoned before the council." Zara's entire body went rigid, and she made a sound that was definitely a growl. She spoke in her own language, her tone sharp and defiant. "The council requires your presence," the alien repeated. "Come now, what's going on?" Marcus asked, standing up. The protective feeling he'd seen in Zara was now flowing the other way. He didn't like the way these aliens were looking at her. "This does not concern you, human," the scaled alien said dismissively. "This is a matter of Lupari law." "If it concerns Zara, it concerns me," Marcus said firmly. "I'm her potential bondmate." The alien's glowing eyes narrowed. "The council has decided that this bonding attempt has failed. Zara will be reassigned to a more suitable candidate." "Failed?" Marcus felt a surge of anger. "Based on what?" "We've barely had a chance to get to know each other." "Based on the fact that you have not completed the bonding ceremony," the alien said coldly. "Lupari law requires that compatible mates bond within the traditional time period. That period has now passed." "That's impossible," Marcus protested. "We were told we had 3 days." "You were told the delegation was departing in 3 days. The bonding period for scent-matched pairs is 24 hours. Marcus looked at Zara, who was now trembling with what he realized was rage, not fear. She spoke in her language again, her voice rising. "What is she saying?" "She is objecting to the council's decision," the alien said with obvious distaste. "She claims that human customs should be taken into account." "She is wrong." "Now, wait just a minute," Marcus said, stepping forward. "Nobody told us about any 24-hour rule." "If we'd known." "Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for breaking it," the alien replied. "Zara will come with us now." "No," Marcus said flatly. The alien's scales shifted color, becoming darker. "I beg your pardon." The trial chamber was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living crystal that pulsed with soft light, and the floor was covered in a material that felt organic beneath his feet. The room was circular, with raised platforms around the edges where the council members sat in their elaborate robes. Marcus and Zara stood in the center, hand in hand. She seemed completely calm, but Marcus could feel his heart pounding. He had no idea what to expect from these trials, and the council members weren't giving anything away with their expressions. The scaled alien who had summoned them stood up from the highest platform. "We are gathered to witness the bonding trials of Zara of the Iron Fang Pack and Marcus Chun of Earth. The trials will test your compatibility in all aspects necessary for a successful life. Partnership. First," he continued, "the trial of trust. In this trial, each partner must demonstrate absolute faith in the other's abilities and judgment." The floor in the center of the room began to change, rising and shifting until it formed a narrow bridge that stretched across what had become a deep chasm. The bridge was barely wide enough for one person, and Marcus couldn't see the bottom of the gap. "The trial is simple," the council leader explained. "One partner must cross the bridge while blindfolded. The other must guide them using only words. If the crossing partner falls or refuses to continue, the trial has failed." Marcus looked at the bridge, then at Zara. "I'll go first," he said. "No," Zara said firmly. "I go, you guide." "Zara, that's incredibly dangerous." "If you fall?" "I will not fall," she said with complete confidence. "You will guide me and I will trust you. This is what trust means." Before Marcus could argue further, one of the council members approached with a black cloth. Zara allowed herself to be blindfolded without hesitation. "I'm right here," Marcus said, moving to the edge of the bridge. "Can you hear me clearly?" Yes, Zara replied. She stepped onto the bridge without fear, her bare feet finding purchase on the narrow surface. Marcus watched her move and realized that her enhanced balance and agility would actually be an advantage here. But the blindfold changed everything. One wrong step and she would fall. Okay, take 3 steps forward, Marcus said. The path is straight here. Zara moved with careful precision, her hands extended slightly for balance. Stop, Marcus called. There's a section here where the bridge narrows. You need to turn slightly to the left and take smaller steps. Zara adjusted without question, trusting his words completely. As they continued across the bridge, Marcus found himself completely focused on her safety. He watched every movement, anticipated every potential problem, guided her around obstacles that appeared and disappeared as the bridge shifted beneath her feet. You're doing great, he called out. About 10 more steps and you'll be across. I trust you, Zara called back. And the simple statement hit him harder than he expected when she finally reached the other side. Marcus felt like he had been holding his breath for hours. Zara removed the blindfold and smiled at him across the chasm. Your turn, she called. The bridge shifted again, and Marcus found himself being blindfolded by the same council member. The cloth was thick enough that he couldn't see anything at all. I am here, Zara's voice came from across the gap. Step forward onto the bridge. Marcus took a deep breath and stepped forward. Immediately, he felt how different this was from Zara's crossing. He didn't have her supernatural balance or agility. Every step felt uncertain, and the bridge seemed to sway under his weight. 6 steps straight ahead, Zara called. The bridge is stable here. Marcus moved forward, trying to project the same confidence that Zara had shown. But when he felt the bridge narrow beneath his feet, he hesitated. I can't see how narrow it is, he called out. What if I step wrong? You will not step wrong, Zara said with absolute certainty. Turn your left foot slightly inward and take a small step. I am watching every movement. I will not let you fall. Something in her tone convinced him. Marcus adjusted his footing and took the step. Perfect, Zara called. Now 3 more small steps, then the bridge widens again. As Marcus continued across, he realized that Zara was giving him much more detailed instructions than he had given her. She was compensating for his human limitations, and doing it so smoothly that he barely noticed when he finally reached the other side. Zara was waiting for him with a huge grin. We pass first trial, she said. Bouncing slightly on her toes, the council leader nodded approvingly. The trial of trust is complete. You have demonstrated faith in each other's abilities and commitment to each other's safety. The chamber shifted again, and this time it formed what looked like a complex obstacle course. There were walls to climb, gaps to jump, and what appeared to be some kind of puzzle at the far end. The trial of strength, the council leader announced. Not strength of body alone, but strength of partnership. You must complete this course together, using each other's abilities to overcome obstacles that neither could face alone. Marcus looked at the course and immediately saw the problem. Some of the obstacles were clearly designed for someone with Zara's agility and size. Others looked like they would require his height and reach. They would have to work together perfectly. Ready? Zara asked, as ready as I'll ever be. They started with a wall that was too high for Zara to climb alone. Marcus boosted her up, and she immediately dropped a rope down for him to follow. Her small size had allowed her to find handholds that he never would have seen. The next obstacle was a series of gaps that were too wide for Marcus to jump, but perfectly sized for Zara. She leaped across easily, then found a way to extend a retractable bridge that he could use to cross. You're incredibly smart, Marcus said as they moved to the next challenge. We are smart together, Zara corrected. Your height reaches what I cannot. My speed goes where you cannot. Better together. The pattern continued throughout the course. Every obstacle required both of their abilities. Marcus began to see how the trial was designed not just to test their individual strengths, but to show how well they could combine those strengths. The final challenge was a puzzle that required 4 hands, working simultaneously to manipulate a complex series of crystals. Marcus worked the larger controls while Zara handled the delicate adjustments, their movements becoming perfectly synchronized. When the final crystal locked into place, the entire course dissolved back into a flat floor. "The trial of strength is complete," the council leader announced. "You have shown that your combined abilities exceed the sum of your individual capabilities." Marcus was starting to understand what these trials were really about. They weren't just arbitrary tests. They were demonstrating the fundamental aspects of a successful partnership. "The final trial," the council leader said, "is the trial of unity. This trial cannot be explained beforehand. You must discover its nature together." The chamber went completely dark. Marcus heard Zara make a small sound of surprise, and he reached out to find her hand. "I'm here," he said. "I know," she replied, squeezing his fingers. "What do you think we must do?" Before Marcus could answer, lights began to appear around them. But these weren't ordinary lights. They were memories floating in the air like glowing spheres. Marcus recognized some of them as his own memories, and others felt foreign but somehow familiar. "These are our memories," Zara said softly. "Yours and mine. What are we supposed to do with them?" "I think—" Zara paused. "I think we must share them. Truly share them." Marcus watched as one of Zara's memories drifted closer to him. Without really thinking about it, he reached out and touched it. Suddenly, he was experiencing one of Zara's childhood memories as if it were his own. He felt the warmth of packmates around him, the joy of learning to hunt, the safety of belonging somewhere. But he also felt the underlying restlessness, the need for something more than the traditional life offered. At the same time, he sensed Zara experiencing one of his memories. The loneliness of space travel, but also the freedom and peace it brought. As more memories flowed between them, Marcus began to understand Zara in a way that went far beyond words. He felt her fears, her hopes, her dreams. He experienced her fierce loyalty to those she cared about, her courage in the face of danger, her deep need for adventure and exploration. And he felt her experiencing his memories in return. His childhood on Earth, his decision to leave everything behind for the uncertainty of space. His deep-seated need for someone who would understand his restless spirit. The memories began to merge and blend, creating new patterns of light around them. Marcus realized that they were literally sharing their experiences, creating a bond that went deeper than anything he had ever imagined possible. "Unity," Zara whispered. "Not just being together, being one." Marcus understood. This wasn't about losing their individual identities. It was about creating something new together. Something that was greater than either of them alone. The lights around them began to pulse in rhythm. And Marcus realized that his heartbeat had synchronized with Zara's. They were breathing in unison, thinking in harmony. When the lights finally faded and the chamber returned to normal, Marcus felt fundamentally changed. He looked at Zara and saw not just his partner, but his other half. The missing piece he hadn't even known he was looking for. Zara's golden eyes were glowing with an inner light that had